Okay, so again, good morning. So our topic for today is antepartum assessment. No, this is the part of obstetrics wherein you try to evaluate the pregnancy, particularly, of course, when you evaluate the mother, the fetus, you evaluate the fetus and the mother. No, so what is this chapter all about? Uh, so it focuses on biophysical findings, the heart rate, movement, breathing, and amniotic fluid production. It is also known as antepartum fetal surveillance, and the objective is to prevent fetal death in pregnancy with complex maternal and fetal condition, and also to avoid unnecessary intervention. So what are we trying to say? We would want to monitor the baby in such a way that we would want to have a healthy baby, and if ever, a timely delivery for the optimum health of the baby. Okay, so basically, that is antepartum monitoring or technique. Okay, this is usually how it's being done. You have the patient put on lying down in bed, and then you will see a certain machine beside, and the mother is hooked to some transducer. That's not the actual transducer, but it's also used for ECG. And then they try to assess the fetal heart rate of the baby using that transducer or machine. And then this is being interpreted in a strip of paper wherein you have the different response of the heart of the baby. So basically, ganyan yung itsura nung mother, no? So patient is being wired to a certain machine. Okay. So that's the electronic fetal monitoring. Okay. Uh, okay. So basically, the outline of the lecture would be fetal movement, fetal breathing, so electronic fetal monitoring, including the non-stress test, the contraction stress test, and ultrasound surveillances in the form of biometry, biophysical scoring, and Doppler velocimetry. Again, I would like to reiterate that this is antepartum, meaning to say assessment of the baby prior to the delivery. Okay? Because there is another thing which is intrapartum, which is another chapter that we will cover, but there is overlap in the subject matter. Anyway, so for us to be able to evaluate the baby, we've got to be familiar with the behavior of the baby, and at the same time the characteristics or properties that the baby may possess that we can evaluate. No? So let's start with fetal movement. Fetal movement, at 7 weeks, you have a passive unstimulated activity. When you have a passive unstimulated activity, uh, so it progresses to fetal movement in more than 8 weeks. Fetal movements are absent for periods more than 13 minutes. So may passive movement, mayroong periods na wherein it is absent. And then sometime later, in the middle of pregnancy, 20 to 30 weeks, they have already an organized general body movement. And also, merong activity, meron ding rest yung baby. So, at 36 weeks, he has established a behavioral state in 80% of fetuses, and usually the sleep cycle varies from 20 to 70 minutes. So basically, that's the behavior of the baby. So, okay. So there are 4 fetal behavioral state, no? So you have the 1F, 2F, fetal, and then the 4F, no? The 1F is a quiet state. So ito yung heart rate pero not that much. The second movement and wider oscillation of heart rate. This is analog movement or active sleep in the neonate. While 3F includes continuous eye movement in the absence of body movement. So mata lang, no acceleration of the heart rate. Although this state is quite questioned kung how really this is reliable. But nevertheless, it was classified as state 3F. Straight 4F is one of vigorous body movement with continuous eye movement and fetal heart rate acceleration. This is the awake cycle of the fetus. So yun yung mga sleep cycle. So what have they observed? Okay, so here in the table, you will see the fetus spends most of their time in 1F, so quiet, and 2F, which is there is body movement, but actually they're still asleep. So parang andun yung rapid eye movement. And they have observed the different movements. So the light blue represents the active sleep, while the dark blue or the darker blue represents the quiet sleep. So yung quiet sleep, yun yung 1F. The active sleep is the 2F. And these are the proportions of distribution of movements of the baby. Okay, so in terms of number of sleep minutes and number of accelerations. Okay, so yun lang yung behavioral stage. And then next would be the sleep-awake cycle. It is independent of the maternal sleep-wake cycle of the mother. So kung natutulog si mother, pwedeng yung baby gising or pwedeng gising si baby, natutulog si mother. So it is not dependent on the mother's activity. The mean duration of sleep cyclicity has been described as about 60 minutes. The mean length is 20 minutes for the quiet or inactive state for term fetuses, while the mean length of 40 minutes for the active state. So mas matagal siyang gising. I mean, not necessarily gising, tulog pero nagmumove. And the longest period is about 75 minutes. So actually, nagbabari naman yan eh. So iba-iba yan per day. But these are just the averaging or average movements. Okay, so some of the determinants of fetal movement are amniotic fluid volume. So maraming fluid, mas nakakagalaw si baby. And certain substances that the mother has taken, like for example, if the mother has taken substance abuse, it affects the baby. Betamethasone, glucose load increase. So it depends on the glucose level. No? Now, on the right side, you will see the graph at different age of gestation. And then that would be the fetal averages movement. So nakita lang, of course, again, it has a certain range. It varies. But these are just the general observation of fetal movement. Okay. So what's the significance of fetal movement in determining fetal well-being? First of all, the methods to quantify fetal movement would be making use of a tocodynamometer, visualization with ultrasound, and maternal perception. When maternal perception is subjective, could be weak, strong, or if the fetus may be rolling. So nagsuswimming siya inside the uterus. Ano? The fetal movement decreases with hypoxia. So no hypoxia fetus will have good movement. No? So kung good yung movement ng baby, that would be a sign that the baby is all right. Now, of course, we'll have to qualify later on. Ano ba yung average or average movement? Ano? So, you'll have to qualify what kind of movement the baby is having. No? Is it exaggeratedly moving? So, that's another thing. Anyway, so yun lang naman yung significance ng fetal movement. Okay, so some guiding concepts in fetal movement. Normal maternal impression were as valid as normally recorded fetal movement counts. No? Fetal movement surveillance may not be as predictive as thought, although most pregnancies complicated by decreased fetal movement will result in normal outcome. So, parang sinasabi dito, it is how reliable is fetal movement, no? Minsan, decreased movement pero normal ang outcome. It depends, no? Some would even say na bakit normal ang outcome? Because it was a timely delivery, kaya normal ang outcome. So iba-iba yung factors that come into play. Maternal perception of reduced fetal activity warrants further evaluation. And then there's no consensus guide as to provider response. The absence of a reassuring count. Further assessment is recommended. So kung duda, gawa ka pa ng assessment. Okay. So let's go now to fetal breathing. Fetal breathing is a paradoxical chest movement, and this is due to cupping of clear amniotic fluid. So what do we mean by paradoxical? There are two types of respiratory movement. Yung gasp or sigh, which occurs about 1 to 4 per minute, or irregular burst of breathing. Now, if you look at the baby, on the left side, you will see bakit siya paradoxical. Di ba? In the usual manner that we try to breathe tayo as adult. When we inspire air, our chest expands. Baliktad sa baby. Sa kanila, pag nag-inspiration, the fetal chest goes down. Okay? The diaphragm moves down and the abdominal wall moves out. Baliktad. That's why it's called paradoxical chest movement. On the other hand, if the patient will have expiration, so air comes out, what happens is that the chest expands, the abdomen goes down, the diaphragm moves upwards towards the thorax, and then there is expansion of the chest wall. Again, that is why it is called paradoxical movement. So, yun yung characteristic. So, huwag kayong magtaka kung gano'n ang movement. By the way, of course, these things were being observed, were done or observed in a patient through ultrasound. Okay? So, nakikita ito through ultrasound. Okay, so this will show you the different breathing in 24 hours, no? So, yung percent breathing at 8 a.m. to the next 8 a.m. So, from noon to evening to midnight to ano, ito yung mga fetal breathing that was observed in the fetus, right? So, of course, again, it has variations, but this is just what was generally observed. Okay, so factors that affect fetal breathing would be hypoxia, sound stimuli, hypoglycemia, gestational age, impending preterm labor, cigarette smoking, amniocentesis, and labor. So it depends on which situation the breathing gets to be affected by the different activities and environment of the baby. So again, fetal breathing is part of the biophysical score. So later on, we will go into the biophysical scoring of the baby. and we will go back again to fetal breathing. So, kaya natin inaaral ito. Okay? So, next would be the understanding electronic fetal monitoring. So, for us to be able to, yung earlier that we presented, that the mother is hooked to a fetal monitor, electronic. So it's a computer that processes the heart rate of the baby. And the rate is determined, the heart rate of the baby is determined by the SA node. And these are modulated by the brain, the CNS, the brainstem, chemoreceptors, baroreceptors, and circulating catecholamines. So similar to an adult, doon din yung regulation of the heart, which is governed by the majority by the brain and other changes biochemically and by pressure on the heart rate. Now, with electronic fetal monitoring, you have control of the fetal heart rate by the autonomic nervous system. So, pag tumataas, that would be a sympathetic influence, while pag bumababa, that would be a parasympathetic influence, no? So, one of the parasympathetic would be a vagal tone or vagal stimulation, no? And so, it varies yung heart rate. So, tataas, bababa yung heart rate. We will go into that. No? But one thing is that if it happens that way, it only means that there is an intact autonomic nervous system. So that would be a good reflection of the CNS functioning, particularly the autonomic nervous system. Okay, so this is how it looks like. That on the left side, you have the machine, the cardiotochogram. This is the paper strip. This is the readout. These are the transducers, which determines the heart rate. And also, you have the tochodynamometer, which determines the pressure of the abdomen. And then this is a marker wherein if the mother feels the movement of the baby, parang pipindutin niya itong switch na to put a mark on the paper strip to tell that there was fetal movement. And this is the CTG tracing. So para siyang ECG. Although it's just the fetus that is being assessed. Okay, this is how it looks like, yung tracing. And so the A would be the fetal heart rate tracing. This one on the upper side. So, and then the B would be the fetal movement recorded by the mother. Siya yung may pinipindot ng switch. And then this is the fetal movement recorded by the machine. And then these are uterine contractions. So pag nag-contract ng uterus, tataas na ganyan, nagkakaroon. This is in millimeters mercury. This is in beats per minute. Okay. So mind you, this paper strip is running, no? So meaning to say it's running at 1 centimeter per minute or 3 centimeter per minute, no? So bawat isang square dyan also counts the time interval. So by which it is being measured. So like let's say for example, ito, tumaas yung heart rate, binibilang kasi naka-scale siya. Kung ilang heartbeat ang tinaas, at the same time, for how long did it go up. So basically, that's the CTG tracing. Okay? So let's go further. No? Let's define it one by one. So definition of baseline fetal heart rate. If you draw a straight line on the baseline of this one, you are able to get the baseline fetal heart rate. Normally, it's 110 to 160. So less than 110, that would be bradycardia. And more than 160, that would be tachycardia. And usually, in this straight line, it's a segment that is rounded to the nearest 5 beats per minute increment. So more or less, kung ina-establish mo dito that ang baseline 140 beats, hindi na yung 145 to 150, yung mga ganun. So, yun yung pinag-uusapan doon na ito yung baseline na this is usually preferably ito yung mga we read out during the time that there are no contractions. Okay? So that's baseline fetal heart rate. Okay, so there is such a thing as so-called baseline variability. Iba yung baseline heart rate and baseline variability. You will see that when at rest, there is, it goes up, it goes down. Pero mga parang maliliit na jagged lines in variations, ano? And this is, earlier we mentioned that this fluctuation is influenced by the autonomic system. So there is an amplitude to peak, throw, and beats per minute, no? Ngayon, kung halimbawa we have graduated or we have calculated it in terms of number of beats per minute. So it could be absent, so parang flat siya, and then it could be minimal, less than 5 beats per minute, and moderate if it is more than 5 beats to 25, less than 25 beats per minute, and there is marked variability if there is more than 25 beats per minute. So later on, we will include variability in the assessment of the heart rate. And from there, you will see how the baby is doing. Okay, so another thing is acceleration. So ito yung tracing, merong acceleration, no? So minsan nilagay lang natin to yung duration tsaka yung increased beats per minute. So para ipakita sa inyo na merong acceleration tapos tumatakbo for a period of how long. Okay, so fetal heart rate acceleration, these are visually apparent abrupt increase in heart rate, abrupt less than 30 seconds from onset to peak, and peak may be more than 15 beats per minute above the baseline, and may last for more than 15 seconds from the onset to return, to say that this is an acceleration. So anyway, sa isang tinginan, ganito itsura ng acceleration sa tracing. Okay? So, meron na tayong variability, may baseline. Now we have acceleration. So, when we do a non-stress test, what do we mean by non-stress test? It tests fetal condition. It is testing fetal condition. Examination of the heart rate characteristic in response to movement. So, fetal heart rate non-acidotic fetus will achieve acceleration in response to fetal movement. So parang tayo, halimbawa, let's say, bigla tayong tumakbo because of certain movements, no? It is expected that the our heart rate will respond by increasing the heart rate. Ganon din si fetus. So it is expected that yung lalo na kung hindi hypoxemic yung baby, mag-i-increase yung heart rate. And that would be a good response, no? So how is the procedure, no? You place the woman in a semi-Fowler's position with left lateral tilt, perform a Leopold's maneuver, place the transducer on the abdomen, and then fetal movement is recorded. After 20 minutes, review the tracing, and you look for the criteria for a reactive test, whether it is met, no? After the test is complete. If after 40 minutes the NST remains to be non-reactive, a vibroacoustic stimulus may be applied. So meaning to say, you have to stimulate the baby making use of sound. So what is a reactive non-stress test? When there are at least 2 accelerations within a 20-minute window, that is a reactive non-stress. So kung hindi na-meet yung criteria, so non-reactive. It has a negative predictive value against fetal demise within 7 days. So from 99.5 to 100%. So pag okay si reactive yung non-stress test that gives us a good sign that the baby is okay, no? A false positive reassurance against acidosis can be as high as 15% in growth-restricted fetus. So, pag reactive, okay siya. Usually within a period of 1 week. No? Although there are certain situations wherein it may not be favorable to kasi bawat isang test naman merong positive predictive value yan na non-reactive may occur in 10% of fetus a term, up to 50% of fetus in fetus 24 to 28 weeks. It has a negative, a non-reactive, non-stress test of a 55% false positive rate, in which case a backup test is normal. So, anong ibig sabihin nun? No? It is not 100% foolproof. So, sometimes you might need another test to further evaluate the baby kung medyo you are not sure about the result, no? Or you need to resort to another form of test depending on the situation. Okay, so this is a reactive non-stress test. There are movements supposed to be here, and then there are acceleration. Dikit-dikit yung acceleration. Okay. So just to show you that there are accelerations of the heart rate with fetal movement. So that's reactive non-stress test. Again, take note that it should be the minimum is a 20-minute window. So that would be the observation time for you to be able to say that the fetus is, the test is complete. Okay. So the acme of acceleration is 15 beats per minute. So mini-measure yan, or above the baseline rate, and the acceleration is 15 seconds or longer. So merong increase in beats, merong duration, no? But less than 2 minutes in fetus at or beyond 32 weeks. Before 32 weeks, yung 10 beats per minute for a duration of 10 seconds apply. So dahil hindi pa well mature yung autonomic system ng fetus, the standard of comparison would be 10 by 10 instead of 15 by 15. That would be a reactive non-stress test. Okay. So the principle here is that other than hypoxia and neurologic depression, the following factors can cause loss of fetal heart rate, no? Sleep, medication like mag sulfate, cigarette smoking can also affect the non-stress test. So it is recommended that acceleration with or without fetal movement be accepted, and that 40 minutes or longer tracing to account for sometimes inabot mo yung baby na natutulog. So minsan ini-extend yung tracing 40 minutes or longer, no? So pag ginawa mo for 20 minutes, you don't stop there. If let's say for example, wala kang nakuhang reaction, you have to, baka na-tsempohan mo lang, natutulog yung baby. Okay, so the interval between tests is arbitrarily set at 7 days. But you'll have to do the test more frequent in post-term pregnancy, type 1 diabetes mellitus, those with fetal growth restriction, and those with gestational hypertension. The key there is that if the pregnancy happens to be more complicated and the situation is somewhat volatile, meaning there are changes that occurs in the situation of the mother and the baby, probably you will have to do the testing more often. Okay. There can be decelerations during a non-stress test. This can be variable deceleration if it's not repetitive and brief during NST, they are not indicative of compromise. But if it becomes repetitive, variable deceleration at least 3 in 20 or decelerations lasting for more than a minute, it might have a worse prognosis. You might require to do an ultrasound to check for the amount of amniotic fluid. So later on, you will understand that when we talk about deceleration, these are usually related to decreased fetal movement because of cord compression. So ito yung itsura ng mga variable deceleration. No? There's no pattern, and usually it can be secondary to cord compression. Okay, so dun muna tayo sa non-stress test pa rin. Ano? So, false normal non-stress test. And there can be fetal death within 1 week of a reactive test. Ano yung mga situation na yun? Like for example, meconium aspiration, intrauterine infection, cord accident, congenital malformation, and placental abruption. Okay? So, we'll have to correlate clinically. Yun lang ba yung problema? O are there any other problems? Now, let's go now to a contraction stress test. Ano yung contraction stress test? So, as the name implies, there will be contraction. So, what does it mean? Ano? Pag nagkakaroon kasi ng contraction, especially during labor, pressure generated by the myometrium exceeds the collapsing pressure of the vessel coursing in, and the ultimate lower the blood flows to the intervenous spaces. So pag konti yung the pressure yung intervenous spaces, less oxygen, there will be brief periods of impaired oxygen exchange. There is uteroplacental if there is uteroplacental pathology that is present, oxygen exchange in the fetus is diminished and late fetal heart rate deceleration appears. No? This downward sloping of the heart rate forms begin with the onset of uterine contraction, and waveform or just beyond its acme. Instead, contraction may produce variable decelerations as a result of cord compression. This suggests oligohydramnios, which is often a comorbidity with placental insufficiency. So, dito, parang nasasimulate yung labor, nagkakaroon ng uterine contraction. That would be a diminished exchange in the oxygen in the intervenous space. And you will have to see what is the reaction of the heart of the baby. Okay, so there is uterine contraction, decreased blood to the intervenous flow, brief impaired oxygenation. No? So that is the abnormal fetus will have inadequate oxygen reserve and cannot tolerate uterine contraction and develop late deceleration. So what is the implication if they happen to be not doing well with contraction stress test? Baka mahirapan sila pag nag-labor. So maybe labor is not advised for them. So parang ito, tinesting mo lang kung halimbawa how the baby will be looking. Okay, so contraindications, kailan mo dapat i-take? So, first, in cases of premature rupture of membrane, baka mapalabor mo yung pasyente ng tuluyan yung fracture na yung bag. Those with classical cesarean section, of course, they are candidates for uterine rupture. Placenta previa, baka mag-bleed. Cervical incompetence, baka lalong mag-premature labor. And those with history ng premature labor, di sila good candidate, and multiple gestation because of the heavy pregnancy, lalong mapatuloy mo sila sa premature delivery. So these are not done for contraction stress test. No? These are contraindications. Okay, so how the place the patient in semi-Fowler's position, do pulse maneuver, record an initial 20 to 30 minute period to assess the baseline, variability, and periodic changes in contractions. If there are at least 3 spontaneously occurring contractions within 10 minutes. So ito yung kailangang ma-achieve na contraction. And this is done for the purpose of standardization of, because you're trying to simulate labor. If you're not able to have 3 contractions in 10 minutes, by the way, this is, first you can do it by breast stimulation. So the mother will stimulate her nipple, and from there you will see if there are at least 2 to 3 contractions in 10 minutes following a 5-minute rest period. So, yun yung gusto nating ma-attain. Pag hindi talaga, minsan, we make use of oxytocin to stimulate uterine contraction, to simulate labor. Okay, so ito yung setup, So there's the fetus. And one of the common thing or common finding is early deceleration, So what is early deceleration? These are symmetrical, gradual decrease and return of the heart rate to baseline associated with uterine contraction. The nadir of the deceleration occur at the same time at the peak of contraction. And this is secondary to head compression. Pag nag-head compression, during contraction, there will be vagal stimulation. And so the heart rate will also go down. Usually, this is not associated with tachycardia or absent variability. Okay, so that's the pattern you will see here. Parang some would even say it's a mirror image of uterine contraction. Okay, so that's early deceleration. Okay, so the other thing is late deceleration. So ano yung diferensya? Kanina sabi natin mirror image. Ito, nag-contract, nag-decelerate yung heart rate ng baby, pero nawala ng contraction, tsaka pa lang nagre-recover. Late yung recovery ng fetus. And this involves the uteroplacental oxygenation and transfer, the chemoreceptor stimulus, the vagal nerve, and eventually the decrease in fetal heart rate. Usually visually apparent, usually symmetrical gradual decrease and return to fetal heart rate to baseline associated with uterine contraction. The nadir of the deceleration occur after the peak of contraction. So anong implication ng late deceleration? It is implicated na in uteroplacental insufficiency, hypotension, and excess activity. Okay, so these are the results of the contraction stress test. Please look into this one. Oftentimes she will ask you to interpret the like negative, no late or significant variable deceleration. Positive, there is late deceleration occurring following 50% or more. And of course, equivocal, suspicious, hyperstimulatory, and unsatisfactory. Please look into this interpretation kasi these are common questions that are being asked. A positive contraction stress test is not good. Ito yun. There are the presence of late deceleration. Ito yung mga minsan pag hyperstimulated lang or the test or the contraction is not satisfactory. Okay, so please look into this one in detail. Okay, these are examples of late decelerations. Hindi nagtatama yung uterine contraction with the deceleration. Okay. Baka bigyan din namin kayo ng mga tracing, and then from there you will interpret it. Now, let's go now to sonographic assessment. And one would do fetal biometry, biophysical scoring, and Doppler velocimetry. So anyway, we will go into much more detail of this one. Tsaka tinake up natin to sa obstetric imaging. Okay, with the biometry, we measure the biparietal diameter, the femoral length, the abdominal circumference, and then the circumference of the head. From there, we are able to estimate whether the baby is growing well or not, no? And is the baby grow into the expected day age of gestation. So yun yung ginagawa ng biometry, no? Take note, we will be asking you about yung mga biparietal diameter, femoral length, abdominal circumference, and so forth. There is also a timing during the pregnancy wherein these are more accurate, no? So the other thing is also doing ultrasound, making use of the biophysical profile scoring. Okay, so again, this is making use of ultrasound and at the same time, making use of a non-stress test. Alam na natin yung non-stress test to acceleration in 20 minutes, while would be, ito yung, ano yung dapat yung i-observe? We give a score of 2 or a score of 0 to, if we are able to observe this one. Again, I will not go into much detail. We would expect you to somewhat memorize this because, halimbawa, breathing, kailangan merong 1 episode of rhythmic breathing lasting for 30 seconds, yung paghinga ng banyan. And pag less than 30 seconds yung paghinga, 0 yung score natin. Same thing is true with fetal movement, fetal tone, and amniotic fluid. Ano? So, amniotic fluid would be measuring the vertical packet of the vertical packet of the amniotic fluid. No? So anyway, we expect you to somewhat understand this well and memorize this. Anyway, you can further ask questions in the small group discussion. Now, since ini-score natin to, we are able to attain a scoring of maximum of 10. Kasi 5 criteria ito: movement, breathing, tone, amniotic fluid, stress test. Kung bigyan mo siya ng score of 2, a score of 10 is the maximum. Or probably 0 kung puro 0 siya. Anyway, so this is the interpretation, no? Score of 10, okay yung baby, and then these are the management, no? Score of 10, normal amniotic fluid, ito rin yung assessment. And then kung decrease ng amniotic fluid, we classify it as chronic fetal asphyxia or score of 6 with normal amniotic fluid volume. Now, andito rin on the right side is the management protocol, no? Kung ano gagawin mo doon sa pasyente kung halimbawa if you get this kind of score, no? So, we would expect you na minsan bibigyan namin kayo ng data with regards to biophysical profile scoring. You're asked to score, and then from the total score, you would be interpreting the baby as to okay ba yung baby o hindi okay yung baby. So anyway, again, look into much more detail into this, try to internalize the biophysical scoring system. Parang ito, yung overall behavior ng baby is being determined. Pinanonood niyo sila sa ultrasound. Okay? So, kaya I would not spend much time on explaining it kasi you need more time to study it and try to appreciate it. Miski i-interpret ko sa inyo isa-isa, hindi ganun kadaling intindihin siya. Okay? So, but anyway, you need to go back to this subject matter. Okay, so let's go now to amniotic fluid volume. AFI or amniotic fluid index, that would be measuring the 4 quadrant of the abdomen, measuring the vertical packet, and that would be, if you add those 4 quadrant, it total would be, the normal would be 5 to 24 cms. And the deepest vertical pocket should be around 2 to 8 centimeters. Say it's normal. So less than that would be, or deep vertical. AFI, pag malaki na yung abdomen, nadi-divide mo into 4 quadrants. Pag mga first half of the pregnancy, deep vertical pocket lang ang ginagawa. So yung 2 centimeter lang ang mine-measure kung more than 2 centimeter. So pag less than 5 cms yung AFI, there is an increased risk of cesarean section for fetal and non-reassuring fetal condition. They have low 5-minute Apgar, increased perinatal mortality and morbidity. So decrease uteroplacental perfusion, decrease renal blood flow, decrease micturition, leading to oligohydramnios. And now let's go now to Doppler velocimetry. These are non-invasive technique to assess fetal maternal blood flow. It assesses the umbilical artery, the middle cerebral artery, the ductus venosus, in the maternal vessel, the uterine artery. So it is being done to optimize delivery. So what is being done? Vasodilated vessels will have low resistance to flow, faster flow of RBC, and higher diastolic flow, lower indices. So ito yung tracing on the right side. You have the systole and the diastole. Ito yung pinag-aral. We don't expect you to be able to read Doppler velocimetry, no? But we would want simply to make you aware that there is such technology that is able to evaluate the baby. So this is assessing the umbilical blood artery. So take note, ito yung mga tracing, that's the umbilical artery. So if let's say there is resistance to flow in the umbilical artery, it reflects the placental flow, no? So pag gusto mong i-assess kung yung placenta ang may diferensya, you will have to do Doppler of the umbilical artery. Okay? So ito yung mga different patterns. No? Merong siyang mga, that's the normal on top, and then there is velocity is 0 during diastole, and this is reverse during diastole. Andito yung flow. So, ganyan yung mga makikita niyo pattern just to familiarize you. Okay? The placental vascular pathology, there will be obliteration of the vascular channel in the placenta. Increase after load leading to hypoxemia. So, ano mangyayari, no? Pag decrease yung flow, what happens is that the body tries to compensate. So nagkakaroon ng redistribution of flow. So one thing that you will observe is that the middle cerebral artery in the brain of the fetus gets to be dilated. So merong increase, no, flow into the brain, no, because yung tinatawag nating brain sparing condition, no. There is increased pressure also in the ductus venosus due to increased pressure in the right side of the heart. So, yun yung mga changes that occur. These are the changes that can be observed with Doppler blood flow. Okay, an abnormal ductus venosus Doppler waveform indicates cardiac dysfunction used for twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. It helps monitor fetus with congenital heart and supraventricular tachycardia that can cause a reversible cardiomyopathy that may lead to high drops. So, okay, so this is the middle cerebral artery, normally vasoconstricted. Kaya lang, when we say that there has been compensation, so minsan yun ang nagdadilate in response to hypoxia, becomes vasodilated. And so there is a preferential shunt to the brain. Usually this is being done or evaluated during fetal growth restriction or also in cases of fetal anemia. Okay, so the next is uterine artery. So this one is a maternal artery supplying the blood flow to the uterus. So usually this is determined especially in cases of hypertension in pregnancy. So there could be increased impedance of the uterine artery in hypertension. Okay, so minsan napag-aaralan to in cases wherein you are thinking of possible superimposed preeclampsia developing in a chronic hypertension. Okay, so yan yung mga flow just to show you yung kung tawagin eh, severe notching. So that's not good. Okay. Current testing recommendation, there is no best test to evaluate well-being, fetal well. So there are three testing systems: contraction, stress test, non-stress test, biophysical profile scoring, and they have different points to consider. So you will have to correlate it with the status of the baby. And then you can prognosticate, determine the severity of maternal disease. And usually, most high-risk in at 32 to 34 weeks, but 26 to 28 mas severe yung complication. And so if you're going to do this testing, it is expected or it is recommended that you do it weekly, or if let's say more volatile situation, more frequent testing. Okay, so antenatal testing, the fetal death rate they found out to be 9.2 compared to those with antenatal testing. And the cases of cerebral palsy with antenatal testing is 1.3, while no antenatal testing is 4.7. So pwede pa rin, makakatulong pa rin yung antenatal testing to lower the morbidity and mortality of this fetus. Okay, so indications for antenatal testing. Again, please look into these are some of the indications for you to do the testing. So from maternal, pregnancy-related, and fetal. Andito yung mga list. Okay, so again, I think that will be all. Thank